Oh, just having a bop to the music. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the selection table, where you become the coach and we become the selection panel, minus the penfolds and the three-piece sweet suits. I'm joined by regular in and outer. He is fast becoming the Matt Kennedy of this selection table. Moved all around. I've got the gorgeous, the amazing Lekdog. Lekdog, how you doing, my friend?
I'm all right, mate. I'm doing better than most of the players on our list, it seems. But been a big week in the media. Been a big night of injury. I'm doing all right, mate. How are you?
All right. My hands are all right. No knee surgery for me. No MCLs. I am fine. I've just had my dinner. Steak and chips Eddie's had. I had a hot dog. And also joining me, the happiest man in the Carlton community, I reckon. I've never seen Ian sad. I reckon he is immune from negativity. How are you doing, Ian?
Yeah, not too bad. Not sure I'd go that far. I definitely needed the Pommy pep talk on the weekend from you, but no, doing pretty well. I reckon calf tightness could be creeping in, but I guess we'll see how we go for the rest of the show.
Calf tightness. Tell you, it's just weird, isn't it? Right? Just when you think you don't have any injuries, and you kind of herald in the fact that the only people that are injured are the usual suspects. Yeah. It's quality. So let's get straight into it because we've got a big show. This is going to be an important job for us, but let's have a wee look at the side of Voss's choice. So this was what Voss went with last week against Sydney. It wasn't a good performance, let's be honest. I nearly said it's not the result we wanted, but we are the selection panel that isn't affiliated with Carlton, so I haven't been Carltonized. But I'll start with you, Lekdog. From a selection standpoint, what would you have changed? Is there anything that you looked at and you thought, yeah, there was absolute no reason you were there? And chat, same question.
From memory, it was pretty close to the team I put together, to be honest. So TDK came in, which I thought was a reasonable opportunity for him. I was probably surprised that Kemp came in and Young went out. I thought Kemp sort of would have been playing the McGovern role if he came in. There wasn't too many surprises. I was obviously surprised for the 12th time in a row or 11th time in a row that Ed Curnow was named as the sub or in the team. But I've embraced it, and just spoiler alert, he's in my team, so I've given up. But no, there was no real surprises for me, to be honest, because in theory, this is close to our best team, and they weren't that good.
They weren't that good. I wish Voss. I wish Voss would say that with the resignation that you had. Yeah, that would make me feel better at times. No,
I'm lost. Just at least I can admit I'm lost.
I've got to say, Ed Curnow as the super sub. Yeah, definitely my bugbear. Same question to you, Ian. What did you see from a selection type philosophy that went wrong?
Well, it's interesting because I'm kind of very similar to Lekdog in they were very similar to the changes that I kind of wanted to see. I maybe wouldn't have pulled the trigger on the Kemp in for one of the talls, and I probably would have expected McGovern to go out of the three, but you can't say that either three have been in great form. So at the end of the day, you kind of cop it, and it allowed Wiedering to probably have one of his better games this season. So maybe it worked out for the best. The Ed one's always an interesting thing. It's funny as well that he probably worked. It was probably the best sub to have, knowing the injury to George Hewitt, the concussion. So maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe it's all coming to plan. I think the only other thing that maybe was a question mark was just around the small forwards, just not really getting the output out of all three, that maybe there needed to be a change there on a Durden or a Motlop. But I guess knowing by the injuries that we've got now, it looks like we're going to be forced to make one.
It's interesting. Obviously, I think all three of us, if I'm not wrong, we have put Cherrett in good question by Chills. He genuinely asked a good question. We didn't challenge Motlops, but we did challenge Cherers. I personally feel that he won't get off Cherer, but then again, we always do it. But that is them ones that, you know, the AFL are quite open at stamping out. Personally, my honest opinion, when you're small, you're tackling a big guy like Tom Hickey, physics is quite clear on this. Shit happens. But do we think it's weird that we are selective when we challenge?
Yeah, it's simple. The better players get defended and the worst players don't. It happened last year with Cripps and who was our mid-season draftee last year? Oscar Hayes. Will Hayes. Yep. It happened with Will Hayes last year. So like, I don't know. I don't think Mott's would be upset, but I think there's a pattern of it where we go, well, you know, we really need Chera to play. We really need Chera in to keep Dow out of this side. That's what the coaching panel's thinking. So they've got to fight it with all their heart, because how are they going to defend not picking him if Chera's out? So, it's pretty simple stuff.
Ian, have you got any thoughts on it?
I'm pretty aligned. Like, I don't go too deep into that. Like, you never know. Maybe Motts was a little bit sore and they just go, what's 1 week? But he's more easily replaceable than a Chera. And with our injuries as well this week, it's kind of, we've got to take this and see if we can win in the only place it feels like Carlton can at the moment, which is at the Tribunal. We seem to do really well there. I don't know what strategy we have in that can't be transferred onto the field, but hopefully that connection's made at some stage.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. And a few people asking about some players. Some players in this injury, just so you're up to date.
Yeah.
Ollie Hollands, completely cooped. Surgery, collarbone, 8 weeks minimum. Nick Newman, a Carlton special, as vague, expected after the bye. So that's probably the season. George Hewitt, concussion protocols, will definitely miss this week. Mark Pitternet, fractured hand, will have surgery, 2 weeks. Corey Durds, LCL, that's a lateral collateral ligament. Try saying that drunk. He will be out up to 7 weeks. Cripper is expected to play, but he is had a. I like the medical definition. Stood on ankle. I'm not too sure if that is a technical term. Mr. Cowan, he is a test to play VFL finger. Jack Martin is a test to play. Connors is a test to play. And we made a joke of it last week because it was 2 weeks for Sam Durden and it had got to 4 weeks. Miraculously, Carlton have rephrased it this week. It's a hamstring 2 to 3 games. So all of them players, apart from the ones we said will play, Connors, Martin won't be considered because they haven't seen grass for a wee while. And Sam Durden is obviously completely... That's a worry, that 2 to 3 weeks, because it's now 2 to 3 games, which is the same thing. But
except what week's our bye round, because what that says is it's actually 3 to 4 weeks, because we will have a bye in there at some stage. So
that was clever by the club.
He's been 2 to 3 weeks for all season, basically. He was going to play and then he got injured in the warm-up, and then we haven't seen him since.
Yeah, I've seen a few questions as well. Murkoff, no one's considered Murkoff. And Pitternet and Murkoff, people complain about Pitternet working around the ground. I could not do Monday's show at this stage. And
if they put up a giant net in the middle of the ground, Murkoff would be a bloody good selection. But until they do that, I think he's probably going to stick to VFL footy.
It's going to be an interesting one. Like, I think I like Murkoff. This week, though, showed me against a very weak ruckman. Has to get that work weight around. I mean, If they gave him a baptism of fire, it's going to be a baptism of fire, isn't it? Because whoever is rucking is going to be taking Brody Grundy. It's a cheat code, isn't it? Let's be honest.
And Max Gorn.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to be a slaughter in the ruck.
Oh.
I tell you what, I'm hijacking for a second. One thing I didn't consider, but we did talk about the last couple of weeks, was potentially moving McGovern into the forward line to be that third leading up tall. And I haven't done that in my team, but I still think there's some merit in that, given particularly TDK is going to have to play ruck. So I didn't actually consider that with my team, but I think it's an interesting option that we still have for us.
It's interesting because I know people are upset about Murkoff. I'm a big fan of Murkoff. I think out of all the content producers, I'm the only one who compliments Murkoff. Murkoff is definitely a work in progress. I think Floyd nails it. It's long term. That's why Carlton keep doing it. You can see his ruck craft impeccable. But like this weekend here, they played him on very limited minutes as well around the ground. So they're trying to focus on that. I think Daniel O'Keefe mentioned it last year that he was 2 years away from senior football, in his opinion. Yeah. It's just getting that thing. It's going to be an interesting one, though, because...
I worry about his age, though, Pom, because he's already like, what is he, 26, something like that? Like 2 years, he's going to be... Yeah, he's currently 24. So in 2 years, when he's football ready, he's already going to be 26, which is...
You just don't like Murkoff, Lekdog. Come on.
I like my footballers being footballers. I would like him a lot more if they picked him up in the PSD or the rookie draft as a Category B or Category A rookie rather than having a senior list spot. I know it doesn't make that much difference.
I think he's
out of principle.
He's got like 1 year left, I think, on the contract. So he's got a little bit more development to prove, I think, knowing Hudson's there, potentially taking that development spot.
Hudson's an interesting one as well, without this becoming a VFL show. It was
as well at this stage.
But it was the first time I saw him in the VFL. It was the first time I've seen him actually ruck in the VFL, which I find bizarre because that was probably his biggest skill set. So you can see they've worked to try and get him around the ground first before they give him that. So I kind of like that method. But that being said, we've talked a lot about it. There's Voss's team. We'll pick on me this week because I've had a few comments. We don't pick on Pom first, and first is the hardest place to go. So we'll pick on me first. So I wielded the axe prior, and I wielded the axe some more when two of the guys have gone. So this is the team that I went out with. Cincotta comes back in. This is my theory. So there's a little bit of a theory on this. Cincotta, Wheater, Kemp, Sard, Marchbank, and Boyd. So Marchbank in his last two games in the VFL. First game, he's played 100% key position for the half he played. And then the second game, he played 82% in the key position. So I've heard these rumours about Young and Wheater. I don't do rumours. Rumours are for mouths. But what I do know for facts is Wheater plays better football when he is a key defender with the sole role of defending. But I think he needs that help. He needs that help with being a bit more offensive. And I love Marchbank this weekend. He was playing a team that was probably worse than an Neefel position. But I enjoyed his attack on the ball. I enjoyed the fact that he did the right things, played the full game, ran it out well as well. Sometimes as well, his backline didn't help him in the first half. So that he's got to be very Carlton AFL. He was under the cosh. He performed. So I like that makeup. And the makeup of that side is give it a go. They're all aggressive players. They all like to take the game on. And I do like Cincotta working the same side as Sard to try and help free him up because both of them run and stun. Point of difference, Cincotta has been playing McGovern's role last week, was played as a pure interceptor and really impressed me. So I feel like having a few avenues to counter-attack is good. Midfield, I brought Lockie O'Brien in. I really enjoyed Lockie O'Brien's game over the last two VFL games. Hollands is out. I don't want to be that guy that says, I told you so, but I knew Hollands was going to get hurt, and here it is. But O'Brien, shout out for his defensive craft. And I did drop Akers originally because of the role that O'Brien's played. He is now playing that defensive conduit role. I really enjoyed how he worked hard to get into the corridor to help his backline out and use his good kicking from there. Cottrell, Cripps, no-brainer. Walsh, Mackay, JSOS. JSOS is going to be the secondary ruck. TDK should be fit enough to do the ruck for 70%. He did it for 100% of the time in the VFL, so he should be able to do it. It's going to be a touch and go, though. I don't like it. While Fisher comes back in, this is the reason. Fisher, Chera, Doherty, Dow, Kennedy, all playing on the ball. Great opportunity. Voss has flirted with getting rid of inside midfielders and playing more versatile ones. Let's see him do it. And I know you all hate me for doing this, but I'll stand by my original convictions. I don't care where they debut. Binns debut off the subs bench late in the game. If the game is close, let's try and stretch these fuckers. I am willing to answer questions, gentlemen. Who wants to go first?
No questions. Comment. Binns as a sub. I agree with you. I don't care where they debut, and I actually think it takes a fair bit of heat out of the game for them. If they come on late, they should have the pace and the energy that other players on the field don't. It gives you an opportunity to be at your best when everyone else is probably a little bit tired. So I like that. Marchbank's interesting. Dow, I'm sure there's going to be comments. People, I mean, he had another 36 disposals on the weekend. I guess my question for you, Pom, is around Chera. If he does get suspended, do you have a backup plan for him?
Yeah, the backup plan for Chera was Dow goes straight on the ball from the start, and then I would throw Fogarty in.
Yep.
Because then that gives us a bit of protection, and Fisher can play a bit more on the ball. Always can go up to high half forward. JSOS then gets to rest. I think JSOS rests when he's rucking. I'd like to see him rest in the forward pocket as a deep target to lead to the pockets. I think they give him too much running. So I was trying mindful for that when I made this team, that I'm going to have to protect JSOS as much as possible, which then that's why my on ball is Doherty, because Doherty and Kennedy and Cripps, when he's rucking, I want to give him as much protection as possible because he ultimately becomes an extra defender. And maybe I'm crazy. I don't mind JSOS rucking because you're going to get battered, but go the extra midfielder and try and create an overload and just try and create a standing stoppage, which gives him a better chance. Ian, any questions in chat? Throw it up.
I don't really have a lot of questions. Like, I think that when you're looking at the defense and Marchbank coming into that, like, I'm definitely a massive Marchbank fan, always have been. And I'm keen to see him if he can stay healthy, have a run in this team at some stage. And with, I guess, the way that like McGovern has been playing and Young has been playing. I know he's out at the moment, but like we just haven't got this right mix. Things haven't felt right. And I like the idea of trying to alleviate Wiedering and get him out there being a bit more interceptor than having to lock him down and get his confidence back in knowing Marchbank can intercept if you need him, knowing that he's been playing a bit more of that lockdown at the moment in the twos. I just think we need to try something different. And so I don't mind that pulling that lever and making Gov have to earn it because his form at the moment hasn't been great. And yeah, everything else, like it makes sense. You've given good reasons for it. I'm not 100% sold on at the moment Doherty going straight into the midfield.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Which is like so weird because I do like him in midfield, but I'm trying to find different ways to unlock Sard at the moment. And so I like your reasoning there for Chin Cotter and the pace, but I don't know. I want him more defensive mix at the moment, but I mean, he's going to get run through there at the moment, knowing how many outs we have. And maybe without Chera, you're kind of forced to have him in there even more.
I think that was my thinking. My thinking with Doc is I feel like as much as I love Doc, I feel like that back line is an issue in the way it moves the ball. So I thought this week we are going to be under the cosh a little bit. I'd imagine we're going to be under the cosh with the outs and our form. So give the back six a chance to counterpunch. And I feel like our midfield, I think Voss is seeing it. Our midfield doesn't clear the ball. It kind of pisses about with it. So I like Dot there because he will get it forward. which I think at times we're going to need to do it. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. It's a work and see. To answer your question, Daniell, I didn't like JSOS down the back. If you go back and watch the first half of the VFL, he spilled 6 marks, I think the stat was, that I showed on the VFL report. He built into the game, right? But I think that's going to be a work in progress. In the AFL, you saw it with Sydney, and Sydney's VFL side is up there with the worst in the VFL at the moment with the injuries they've had. They managed to really, really cotton on to them spilled marks. So this stage, it's going to be an interesting one. But I thought about Mackay in the ruck as well, but I figured kicking problems, he's got enough issues at the moment without adding to them. So, and I have given up on manifesting him at full forward. I've given up. It's not going to happen. So I'll stand corrected. Ian, take us through your team, my friend.
Happy to. So, yeah, I guess I'll go through my changes firstly. Nick Newman out. So Chincotta comes in. I think it's probably the most simple one. Add some more leg speed. Probably the next best defender that we do have. Maybe you could look at bringing someone a little bit more defensive-minded, knowing that Newman's played a bit more of that lockdown on the smalls. But when I look at who else you can bring in, I definitely don't want to bring in Plowman. And I think Marchie's probably a bit too tall to play that role. And again, like I kind of mentioned earlier, trying to find different ways to allow Sard more attacking running that we haven't seen. And I guess having a runner like Chincotta, having Boyd there, having Doherty that I've got, I think having more weapons that an opposition has to watch out for can hopefully allow them to not just, I guess, try to tag Sard out of the game a little bit easier. Zach Fisher comes in for Corey Durden. I honestly, before Durden's injury, I had Fisher coming into this. I think he had a great game in the twos. And I want to rotate him a little bit more in the midfield as well, give a different look in there. And yeah, I had originally Durden as my sub replacing, but now that he's definitely injured, it sort of doesn't change anything for me. I think Fisher needs to come in. Silvani comes in for Pitt. Silvani was not in my team until the injury, but again, he's probably the next replacement you have there. I don't love him being the second ruck, but we're kind of just devoid of any other options at this stage. With him as well, I think Pommy touched on it well. Like we're not going to win this ruck battle with going up against Gawn and Grundy. So having someone in there that can kind of act as a bit more of another midfielder going, okay, we're not going to win the tap. What can we do on the ground? You know, he brings the pressure and things like that. So maybe that can be something that we look at. Then I have gone Dow in the team for George Hewitt. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know how many people are going to have to be out of this team to get Paddy Dow in.
A few more.
They'll definitely. Yeah, they'll definitely. I think even if Chera doesn't get in, I'm not sure they'll pull that lever. But yeah, I got to bring him in. I think he deserves a shot, and it's Dow season. That's all I'm going to say on that one. And then I've gone O'Brien like you have on the wing to replace the injured Hollands. I think a lot will go Bins here. A lot of the listeners will probably have gone, bring him straight in. His form's probably been a little bit better, but I don't know. I'm worried about the high pressure must win vibe of this game and having to throw him straight into that atmosphere. And that is why I've gone O'Brien, because he's a bit of that safer option. You know kind of what he's going to bring, and he looks to have helped that defensive side a little bit more. And with that, I have brought in Bins as my sub to rattle this one out. I had Durden, as I mentioned earlier, as my sub originally, and I'm going against my not loving the sub to be a debut, but knowing it's this tactical sub, not the medical sub, you will get him out there. And so I do kind of like the idea of him not having that pressure coming on with the leg speed, being versatile. You can play him half forward. You can play him on the wing. You can move multiple players around like a Cottrell and things like that. I think it adds layers. And he's really the only other attacking player that we have to come on as that impact sub, which we don't really have a lot of them. So it's Bins for me. And going off that pressure, the lack of pressure on his performance coming on as the sub, knowing he's fresher as well, kind of allows him to just come in a little bit hotter. So that's my team. Feel free to pick it apart.
I don't think there's heaps. Oh, you go, Pom.
If Chera's injured, I mean, out, scrubbed out, and we don't manage
Suspended.
to bribe the judge. Who's your man?
Well, this is the tough situation because I really don't want it to be Ed Curnow. And so I'm going to try and move away from that. And yeah, it would have been Durden, but his mysterious injury has really thrown spanner into the works. So because the sub was going to be Durden as that next one, I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to go Fogarty can kind of play where you need him to, go into the forward line, push someone else into there, like maybe a Fisher, to spend more time rotating on ball. Or if he needs to play and push up at times, pinch hit. He's done it at the VFL level, done it at AFL level. It's something different that's not Ed Curnow.
You're both crazy. That's kind of it. You're both
but I
crazy.
don't love it.
It's going to be Lockie Plowman. I'm just letting you know. It's going to be Lockie Plowman. Like,
you know what? A good mate of mine, Bugs Bell, made a point. Motlop midfield. That was something that VFL tried a lot around stoppages. They made him like almost like a Tuck Miller, which is kind of what he did at juniors as well. Like he was kind of their go-to guy, break glass in case of emergency. Interesting this week, Dow took second fiddle to Fisher, which I thought was weird at the time. Knowing what I know now, I don't think it is weird at the time. Do you think Fisher if Cherry is out, they're just going to give Fisher the gig straight away, full-time on ball, which then may open up Dow rotating through there?
I'm not sure. Just because I've never seen them do it makes me feel like they're not going to. If I know this coaching group and selection panel as well as I have so far, it's Fish is playing forward and he might get a little time on the wing and maybe 1 or 2 center bounces. I don't think they trust him to do it. I'd like to see it because I think that burst at times is the best thing you can get, and particularly if Chera's not in there, it adds a different dynamic into that midfield that isn't just inside balls. But yeah, I don't expect it, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to throw a random name out there and get your guys' thoughts. This is just something I thought of now is, could you see them throwing a massive spanner in the works and giving Sard some midfield time as just a spark, and maybe maybe that's where they bring in a Lockie Plowman and give him a bit more spark? Because you've seen other teams bring in a halfback and give him a bit more midfield time. Is that how you can kind of unlock him as a spark player through there for 2 or 3 CBAs?
I mean, why not? I want Sard kicking the ball, and he's not currently doing it in defense, so why not? Do I think they'll do it? No. I would like to see Sardi push up and spend a bit of time on a wing or in the middle and just try and, I don't know, I don't want to compare to past players, but give us some Chris Yaron run, you know? Yeah. Let's get the ball forward. And we've certainly got enough sort of halfbacks that you could cover it. Do I think they're going to do it? No. but like, what I would like to see is some sort of ingenuity, and I don't mean Matthew Kennedy at centre halfback ingenuity. I mean like something that's going to potentially work ingenuity, and Sard could be that.
And I mean, last year when we had all these injuries, Vossi had to do something, and we saw Doherty go into midfield for the first time. So I'm kind of hoping that while we're in a bit of this rut, and now we're kind of forced to make changes, that they'll do something and maybe it'll work.
You know what's interesting about that, and a few people are enjoying it, enjoying the Sard suggestion, is interesting story. Got a lot of friends who work at Adelaide Crows, so I get quite good intel from there. But Laird, becoming a full-time midfielder, was born from the forward press when they started to try and negate Rory Laird. So interesting enough, Nix came up with the idea halfway through 2020 of deploying him in the midfield in the hopes that they would either deploy the tagger in the midfield and it would cause chaos, or it would just give him a bit of a break so he could find the ball and get a bit of confidence. And you actually go through the middle part of 2020, his clearance numbers started to go through the roof, and they stumbled across something almost by accident. I quite often watch Sardi and just think, we do it with midfielders when they're tagged, they'll deploy them forward of the ball and say, well, come and get me. Cripps, that was a great method last year that Voss ironically negated because they put a big guy round one against Cripps and he took the piss when they dropped him forward. I actually reckon Sard going forward of the ball might help them out a little bit. Just give Sard some easy run, but I think they might actually find it'll make them a bit quicker and a little bit more direct, because that's the one thing that annoys me about our midfield. We never play for territory. And that's what Sydney did last week. That every time they won it, territory was their first option if they couldn't hit a target. It was get it up forward and make something happen. I'd love to see that happen. What do you guys think of that?
Richmond did it with Jaden Short as well, which is another example where it worked. So I definitely think it's an option, and I think we should be trying every option. I think Cripps moving forward is another option we should be trying as well more, particularly if he's got some soreness. But we've not been very adventurous this year.
Yeah. And even another one that's not like a necessarily a 100% similar player, but you look at Adelaide again and Jordan Dawson, wing halfback that now deployed in midfield. It feels like, why not? Like, what is the worst thing that could happen for one center bounce? You give Sardi 5 minutes on ball. Like, it doesn't feel like the worst thing. And I know I'm just throwing like random players here for different things, but even
when we were, sorry to cut you off, but when we were really shit, we did the same thing with Jared Pickett, right? Was it Jared Pickett? Yeah, Jared Pickett, where we'd run him off the back of center squares for clearances. And like occasionally it worked, and we would generate a scoring shot immediately out of it because he had the pace and the kicking. So like, I mean, that's many years ago, but there are instances where we as a football fan collective have seen that happen throughout. So yeah,
Eddie Betts has had a couple of CBAs through his time at Carlton as well. But another name that I was thinking, like, not that we need to shift him or anything, but just an option is like the way Jordan Boyd's playing, and his run, his use of the football. It would like there's an option for him to potentially play on a wing if you need him at times. But I'm even looking like, could you even maybe have him high half forward with work rate, with being a better user around the football, knowing that our high half forwards are struggling with work rate and being guys that are there at the time. I feel like that could be a lever that they look at. Not that I've seen any evidence of it, and I'm not sure they'll even look at it, but that's been something I've been wrestling with, that maybe he could be someone that you could use in a position like that because he's just such a good user. Imagine him delivering it inside 50.
Yeah, I did toy with him as some sort of like defensive taggy sort of Christian Salem play off him in the forward line. I did toy with that. So I'm not against it.
You know what is quite funny? We were going through stats last week on the show, and we talked about only Brisbane have 20 have the same amount of individual goal kickers as we do as a side. And one of the big changes, which it opened a lot of people's eyes because Brisbane seemed to score quite freely, but the biggest change for them, right, to us, is them individual goal kickers come in different games as opposed to Carlton. They're quite clustered, but they average 12 rotations through the midfield versus Carlton's 7.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I watched Brisbane this week, and it's the amount of times Dunkley rests at high half forward, Neil starting to rest high half forward. Do you know what I mean? They really float them guys through. They move Lyon back behind the ball. McCluggage goes to half back, and they move players further forward. There's a real that you can see they're always tinkering. And that's what I tried to do with my team selection, trying to get that where we could throw a Sardi on the ball for 12 minutes, go, right, Doc slots half back, and try and create them avenues. Because how often do you see this year Walshy run inside 50 and kick a goal? You don't, but we've seen Doc do it. I was excited last week when Doc was named the half forward line because I thought there isn't anyone really who has a ping from 55. Everyone is always trying to chip it to Harry or chip it to Kerner. Would be interesting to see if Carlton maybe take a leaf out of the Brisbane book and think more rotation could create them opportunities.
One to watch.
If only we were the selection panel team.
Yes, if only. All right, so here's my side. I kept the 3 talls and defense the same because I thought Wiedering played well. Chincotta comes in like you, Pom. Pair him up with Adam Sard. On the wing, Lockie O'Brien comes in. Jack Silvani comes in with Mark Pitnet out. Zach Fisher comes in for Corey Durden. I made that decision before Corey Durden's injury came out because I just didn't want him in the team. And the other change is Ed Curnow stays in the side for George Hewitt. And that's just purely me just being crushed and beaten by the club. Like, I've just accepted it that that's going to happen. If Adam Chera misses, Paddy Dow comes into the side. Jackson Bin debuts as the sub. So in Ed Curnow for George Hewitt, Lockie O'Brien for Ollie Hollins, Alex Chincotta for Nick Newman, Zach Fisher for Corey Durden, and Jack Silvani for Mark Pitnet. Pretty much 5 like-for-like changes. There's no real surprises in the lineup. Maybe I've got Cottrell at half forward. Maybe that might be a bit of a surprise, but I like the idea of him, sort of streaming forward, and he's another guy that will at least take shots at goal. We're talking about guys who could do it. I think he's one that could do it. I've got, I don't even know why Ed Curnow's here, but I've got him there because I just know what's going to happen. Yeah. Boyd for defensive depth. Kennedy, I think, not that they've been doing it, they've been playing him in defense, but I think Kennedy, again, I'm going to keep saying it till I see it. We've seen him in the past be a forward who can kick goals that also pinch hits in the midfield. I think there's a role for him there. And Motlop got saved by the fact that we don't have any other small forwards. Yeah. So that's my side. Pretty similar to both of yours.
Well, first, thank you to Ugur with the $20 donation. Cripps is mad. This is a good team. This could be the turnaround we need. I actually liked Cripper's response. And it's something that I've been begging the coaches do. Just call upon the players' integrity. Get them fired up a little bit. And I think Caro might have just brought Cripper out of his shell a little bit. But questions
Shout
about
out
the
to
team.
Ugur. I believe there's no G. If last night's show was anything to go by, Ugur. I can't roll my R's either. Don't worry, Pom.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, mate, there's too much Pom in you, mate. But, I mean, the one question I've got about your team, and chat, fire away. You've got to pick on that dog because he's in a bad mood, so we might get a reaction. Ed Curnow, I'm guessing you will be leaving the show soon to actually take a paid position with the Carlton Football Club. You've got him in there.
Open.
We've done this show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 6th time we've done this show. I've dropped him in every single show, and he's shown up. He's a cockroach. You can't get rid of him. We're infested. So I've just, you know what? I've saved myself the embarrassment of getting one wrong, and I've just put him in the team because I'm sick of getting 4 of my 5 changes correct every week. Where the 5th change that I get wrong is Ed Curnow. I've dropped. So I've just accepted it. But yes, happy to take the abuse from the from the people in chat. You're lucky I didn't put my boy Lockie Plowman in.
Do you know what I mean? No, I agree. I agree. Ed's a warrior. I mean, for me, if the Chera's out, my fear is this, and I'd love to know Ian and Lekdog and chat, definitely your opinions. I just feel that Voss is kind of clinging on, in the terms of he keeps switching Kennedy. He keeps switching Hewitt. One of them's been a sub. It's almost like he's almost where we are as a fan base going, yeah, I've got too many insiders. I need that point of difference there. But he just can't bring himself to do it. And like Ed seems to be that security blanket for him going, if in doubt, I can bring him. I just love him this week to not being defeatist, but just go, this game, no one thinks we win.
Yeah.
So why don't I give us the best chance of victory and do something different and just fucking throw caution to the wind? Because I did debate giving Mackay the week off just to go away and piss off. And I was thinking, I'll maybe throw Cripps and Kennedy forward to give Dow and Fisher some more on ball time. I didn't. But what don't you think? You can tell he doesn't like it, but it feels like he's resigned to doing it. Is that how you guys feel?
Yeah, for sure. Like, if you gave me the reins, I would just throw caution on the wind. I go, we've lost 6 of the last 7. We're shit. We're playing Melbourne. Everyone thinks we're going to get smashed anyway. Let's just chaos ball it. Let's do that. Let's play Cripps up forward. Let's put Dow in, put him at the center, put him in the guts. Ed, you're out. Mackay, you're out. Wiedering, you're out. Just dump them all. Give them a week off. But that's not really how they do it in professional sport. But I would love to see that. I'd love to just see because Melbourne would be game planning for us. Our game plan is very easy to plan against based on the evidence of the last 12 months. To throw the game plan out and just put the guys on the park, put all the guys who like we don't see that much, and just go have a crack. Like I reckon they'd do okay.
Lekdog's checked out.
If you let them coach themselves and just said run, I reckon they'd be okay. We'd certainly score more points than we have over the last sort of 10 weeks.
Ian?
Probably not wrong. No, he's probably not wrong there at all. Yeah. Look, I have, for as much as I will give like Ed Curnow a lot of criticism, and I drop him, I think, every single time on this show. I'm going to slightly defend him, which maybe everyone will come for me in the comments for this one. But like, I do understand why he potentially is there. And I get your sort of safety blanket sort of thing that you're talking about. And I think that that's a massive element. But like, if everyone's potentially, like Vossi's alluded to, like we're not nailing the game plan, not everyone is nailing this kind of thing. There could be obviously this disposal and everything bad that comes with Ed Curnow is clearly there to see. There's a potential that like he's the only one that's running to the spots that Vossi's asking. That we know his work rate, we know his standards and those sort of things. That there could be a genuine thing that Vossi's being like, everything I'm asking week in, week out on the training field and on the field, he's basically doing it. His execution is clearly not there, but I'm asking for things to be done, and he's the only one that's showing it. I have to reward this to maybe get Motlop to do it, to get other guys out there to show certain things. Not saying I necessarily agree with it. Clearly, I'm dropping him every single week, but I wonder if there's that kind of element to it of why he's so married to Ed Curnow out there for these little things that maybe we're not seeing. But there's definitely that safety blanket around this at the moment where he's just not, he can't just drop one of them. He's sort of like, oh, I've got to keep one as the sub. I've got to keep Kennedy as a sub or Hewitt. Like he just, yeah, it's an interesting dilemma.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I suppose we'll never know, will we? We'll never know. Because, I mean, I love Ed Curnow, but I just think, you know, the bit, I wouldn't mind Ed Curnow in the 23, right? Because at least you're committing to it. It's when he's the sub, man. Because every club, he's got a sub that changes the game. And I'm like, when I see Ed Curnow there, and this is how I pick my team, and especially where we are now, I would be looking at my boss, Mr. Sayers, has said, I'm here till next year, end of next year. So let's go with the players that I'm playing next year. So that would be McGovern out. That would be Ed Curnow out. And you know what? I would hate for us to be in a situation because I was happy Stocker went. I understood it. But what annoyed me about Stocker going is he's gone to St. Kilda and he's got a real defined role, one-dimensional role, and he's really flown. Setterfield, they've just given him the on-ball job, but Carlton went out and bought Hewitt to do that. But Ed Curnow but we already had Will Setterfield here. Do you know what I mean? Like, to do Hewitt's job. I would hate for us to be in a situation where Dow goes off and some club goes, right, okay, what we're going to do, instead of having an ego, we're going to get the ball out of the centre clearance. And I agree with what my mate Jesse Hamill said here. He nailed it. Get a bit of fucking territory. And I will crack it round one if he ends up at St. Kilda and I watch him boom it out of the centre 4 times in the first quarter and bloody Dan Butler mops up the crumbs and kicks 2 goals. I will scream and punch my telly because that's what annoys me. And that's what I worry with Ed Curnow. We're missing opportunities for Carroll, who I appreciate. I hate that in sport. Oh, he trains well. You know what I mean? Fuck off. You know what I mean?
It's his job.
Off. I used to sit next to people at school who listened and they got D's and I was busy chatting up Natalia Roden. I got A's. You know what I mean? Because some people are just gifted. It winds me up when I hear, oh, Ed Curnow trains well, so he should be in the 22. Well, if you paid me 6 figures, I'd train harder than any player on that list because it would be a dream. But fucking don't play me, please. You know what I mean?
Don't worry. I want to. There was a comment in here as well. Let me get my mouse over it. Yeah, from Ethan. And I'm not saying I want Ed Curnow or I necessarily agree with this. I was simply devil's advocating. I just want to stamp and say that I said in 2019, 2020, we're not going to be a good team until we go past Ed Curnow, and unfortunately, that's probably the microcosm of it right there. We still have him in the team, we're still shit. Nothing against the man, but we have to move on. And it's insane that we're still having this conversation in 2023. It's bizarre.
To be clear, we're not necessarily shit talking him as him. He is a result of the thing that we're shit talking, right? We're shit talking this inability to move on and play for the future and plan for the future and try new things. We're shit talking this constant habitual decision to go back to the well over and over and over. And he is a result of that. I'm not necessarily saying he fucking sucks, but I don't think he should be in the team because we have others that can do the role who are 10, 12 years younger than him. So, it's just to clarify.
He should pretty much have been the captain of the VFL team, developing the Jack Carroll, developing these young players, because we don't have the senior players in the VFL that can kind of take the heat off of Paddy Dow, take the heat off a Jack Carroll in the midfield. It's they're getting the number one tagger now. And it's that's what he should have been there to teach them the standards of before. But it's a weird way that we don't use these guys to aid the development of our youth.
That's what kills me the most.
Yeah.
Because Ben Crocker, I think, is the most important player in the VFL because for a guy who's going to be a medium forward, you watch him play, he plays full forward. He also plays the small forward and he also plays the high half forward role. But all due respect to Ben Crocker, he is just a bit better than VFL level, but not good enough for AFL level. So he's a great benchmarker for any young forward that comes into our system. If he's a little bit better than that, there's a chance. Ed Curnow would be the perfect VFL guy because if you are better than Ed Curnow, you're AFL average. Do you know what I mean? It's really exciting.
Make him the final boss of the VFL team.
Yeah, but he's also the best trainer at the club, which I think is a big reason. And I just really feel like Rio put players who have left our club. I just worry that, do I think Dow's going to be a world-class footballer? No, I don't. But I do think shit players in really, really defined roles do a job. Will Setterfield, as much as I love George Hewitt, is George Hewitt at Essendon. Right? So I think, okay, George Hewitt cost us fuck all. But for over two coaches, 5 minutes they'd play him on the ball and then they played him on the wing. He was high half forward. I went back and watched a VFL game where he played intercept defender. And I'm thinking, you obviously needed a Hewitt, but you had him, right? And you got rid of him and you bought another one in. Fair enough. What happens if someone just put Dow? Just because I'll tell you what, I'll scream next year if Dow does a stalker and they just use him to his one wood and protect him. Because I personally feel, as average as Dow could be, we have enough fuckers in there to protect him. We haven't and I'm actually starting to get worked up about Dow in the terms of week in, week out. There's only 3 players in the VFL that turn me on. Binns is one because if he had improved his defending and the draft was next week, he would be top 10. How much he's improved now. He'd be top 10 in the national draft. He'd probably be pushing Ollie Hollands, right? Murkoff, his development from where he was, where I was counting and taking the piss, to now he's actually looks like a ruckman, turns me on. But Dow, every week I see him do something different. This week, working hard to defend. I actually saw him chase a guy from the forward 50 this week and made the tackle on the D50. And I'm like, fuck me, I've never seen Dow do that. So I'm like, what is going on? Like what? Just play him now. Play him.
Well, I have him on the list if you're not even going to entertain it. It seems weird, but yeah.
Well, I'm with you. So let's start picking a team because I've definitely come around, and I think I'll change one player from my team to another.
Okay, Chad. What we do now is we pick our backline first. Moving on to our sexy lines, the lines that we really care about. So backline, Lekdog, I'll start with you. One player. Chat, you're going to have 3 picks. Actually, we'll do it different. We'll have 1 pick each. Then we'll all agree on 1 and you get 2 picks. So, Lekdog, first guy you're saving for the backline.
I will save. I want to see Alex Chincotta on field for us. So I'm going to put him in the back pocket.
Huge.
So, Mr. Chincotta, back pocket. Mr. Ian, who are you picking?
I will save probably my favourite player in this Carlton squad at the moment, Jordan Boyd. Chuck him on a halfback flank, please.
Jordan Boyd, he is on the halfback flank. Yep, okay, we've got him. I am going to save Marchbank because I am mean.
Oof, big.
Right, so let's get rid of Marchbank. And we've got to agree on 1. Who are we going to agree on, group?
Are we going to just go like a Jacob Wiedering, make it easy?
Yeah, well, I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that. I can't disagree.
Okay, chat. So you have got these little miscreants. I'm going to do what I did last week because it worked pretty well from memory. If I take a quick screenshot, it should load up quicker. So at the moment, we have got...
Who did you keep, Pommy?
What?
Who did you keep?
Marchbank.
Marchbank.
Yeah. Nice.
So if that has worked, which it has, you should say, I need 2 names from here, chat, that you want
Chat's
to keep.
coming through. We're getting Saad Kempy, Saad Kemp, Saad Kemp Young.
Oh, okay.
A few people asking for Young, but he's not eligible based on our rules.
He's not eligible, unfortunately, based on the rules. So Saad and Kemp join the team. Our backline is complete. So our backline, as it stands at the moment, is Chincotta, Wiedering, Kemp, Boyd, Marchbank, and Saad. So we've got Saad out and Kemp. Excellent. So midfielders, who are you picking?
I'm going to put Lockie O'Brien on a wing.
Oh, massive.
Lockie O'Brien, Mr.
I
Ian.
assume I can go first.
Just so he doesn't end up as a halfback, I'm going to have Matt Kennedy on field, please. In the midfield. You want him as the inside mid. Inside. We'll go, I don't know, Rover,
okay.
Whatever they are. In the following line, please. Followers.
Kennedy, I'll make it easy for chat. I am going to pick Cottrell.
Ooh. Other wing, I'm assuming.
Yeah, on the other wing. And we've got to agree on 1. Who are we agreeing on? Are we going to make it simple for chat and we'll take Cripps?
I think that's probably the smart thing to do.
I like it.
But they've got some fun to do.
So are we giving them, they've got to pick the number 1 ruck and whoever's on the ball?
Yeah, so you've got 2, chat. You've got to pick an on-baller and a ruck. So you have got Akers, Binns, Charlie Curnow, Chera, if you want to risk him, Doc, Dow, Ed Curnow, Fisher, Kennedy, McGovern, Mackay, Motlop, Owens, Silvani, TDK, or Walsh.
TDK.
So TDK and Walsh. Walsh. Imagine if we dropped Walsh.
Dow. TDK. I think TDK is pretty comfortably going to be the ruckman.
I think it's Walsh and TDK by the looks.
Yeah. Dow and Fish. That was one of those spots with the ruckman, Jesse. So Jesse wants Dow or Fish. I mean, why not at this point?
Well, I will say that I'm just looking at Twitter now because I wanted to see if there was anything on the Chera news, but Riley Bev is reporting that Dow is set for an AFL call-up. If you can believe Riley Bev, who's normally pretty good with his news, particularly around Carlton, knowing he's a bagger. So that's going to be interesting if he does.
We're currently arguing that you can't just watch Hickey's hair. He's got a lot of hair, so that would make it look like a bigger impact. So it's not going super well.
I like this.
That is tough. So what we've got left at the moment is we've got Akers, Binns, Charlie Curnow, Chera, Doc, Dow, Ed Curnow, Fisher, Kennedy, McGovern, Mackay, Motlop, Owens, and Silvani. So I will start with you, Mr. Lekdog. Which forwards are you keeping?
Okay, interesting stuff. So I don't want to do the easy ones. I don't know. I kind of want to name Fisher at the half forward flank, but I don't know. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put Fisher at a half forward flank.
Fisher is out of the reckoning because Lekdog's taken him. So half forward flank, Fisher. Mr. Ian.
Yeah, that was going to be mine. And just in case anyone, I'm going to save Harry basically here, just to. Yeah, and my idea is high up the ground as physically possible without him being a defender or anything like that. So I think centre half forward. Isolate Charlie, please.
So are you putting him a centre half forward?
Yeah, chuck him there.
All right, I'm going to save Charlie Curnow because I do that every week because I will actually cry if we do not have him in the team. To be honest,
so we
forget him.
We've got quite a few guys to choose from here. We've got Motlop, we've got Owies, because we've got to agree on one, right? Motlop, Owies, J-Sauce, Akers, Bins, Daniell, Doherty.
I've left a rolling sheet.
Beautiful.
So you should have Akers, Bins, Chera, Doc, Dow, Ed Curnow, Kennedy, McGovern, Motlop, Owens, or Silvani. So we've got to agree on one.
Probably Owens. I'd love to go ballsy and put McGovern as a forward target, but I don't think I'm going to get buy-in from you two. So I'm going to say Owens.
I'm happy with Owens.
I'll stick with Owens.
Okay, so chat. On your screen, you will see a scrolling thing. I need two names there to play in your forward line. So you've got Akers, Bins, Chera, Doc, Dow, Ed Curnow, Kennedy, McGovern, Motlop, or Silvani.
Kennedy's already been named in this team.
He has indeed.
Yeah, I saved him.
Yeah, nice. That might keep him out of the centre half.
Yeah, just something. Maybe we'll see.
So, chat, let me know. Who are your last Dow J-Sauce? I like that. Trying to get Dow in early. I love it, Jesse. You're a man.
In that forward pocket. We love it.
You're a man of my own heart. Looks like Silvani is staying. Motlop, Dow.
Silvani has to.
Silvani.
Gov?
J-Sauce McGov. J-Sauce is definitely one of them.
So we need one more forward from last week's team. Motlop, Doherty. They were both named in the forward line.
It looks like Motlop has taken it because Motlop late things here. I love it.
All right, Motlop.
So Motlop and J-Sauce join the crew. So if you look on your bottom. These are what's left for our bench spots. So what we'll do is we'll do one each, and we're going to leave the chat to do the sub and the final one. So Lekdog, Akers, Bins, Chera, Doherty, Dow, Ed Curnow, Kennedy, McGovern, your subs.
Not Kennedy because he's already in the team. I will do Doherty because he has to be in the team, and starting him on the bench, strong tactic. That's a bit of spice. That's a bit of spice.
Who was that? Sorry,
Doherty.
Oh, okay.
So Doc and Kennedy can come out of that.
I thought you said Ed Curnow. Okay, Ian. who are you saving?
Oh, this is tough. See, like the smart option is Chera, but it's just like I just don't think he's going to be there.
They're deliberating right now, so if you delay enough,
I'll just pad some time out for you for half an hour. Am I allowed to save someone as the sub?
You can do.
Is that allowed?
Yeah, it'd be a world first, but I think legally you can do it.
Because I'd love to save Bins as the sub if possible.
He's done it. Mate, you can do what you want. It's your show too. I am
James
happy.
as the
Chat,
sub.
he's been
There
very
you
generous there. He's given you
I've given you a starting spot, chat.
So
we got 3 bench spots to fill.
I am doing it. I have demanded him being in for 5 of the 6 weeks.
Ed Kerno is in.
Paddy Dow, he's back in the Carlton starting look.
Great selection, Pommy. Great selection.
Tell you what I'm going to do, chat. I'm going to well, I suppose we don't know, but there you are. You've got 2 there. 2 to be our bench. We've got Akers, Chera, Ed Kerno, and McGovern, chat. So our team at the moment is Chincotta, Wheater, Kent, Boyd, Marchbank, Sard, Cottrell, Cripps, O'Brien, Fisher, Mackay, Jesus, Motlop, Charlie, Owens, TDK, Kennedy, Walsh, Doc, Dow, Bin, Sub.
Yep. Akers, Chera. What are we doing if Chera doesn't?
Well, we could potentially select him and then have the chat also select the backup potentially.
But yeah, we could give him free reign to pick Alex Murkov as the backup.
Akers. It looks like Akers is definitely going to be in.
Okay.
Akers has definitely taken one. Some are going bold with Akers and Chera. McGovern's getting late votes as well.
McGov. Anyone but Gov, says Mighty Blues.
That takes one off. For whoever else voted for him.
It looks like Chera might sneak in. You know what? Yeah. I'm happy with that. We'll do Chera with a caveat that it's McGovern, if not. I think that's a wise call, chat.
Fair enough.
I will just download this. So your team, as it
your team that you selected, folks.
Oh yeah, it's a team exercise. You have got Chincotta, Wheaterin, Kemp, Boyd, Marchbank, Sard, Cottrell, Cripps, O'Brien, Fisher, Mackay, Jesus, Motlop, Charlie, Owens, TDK, Kennedy, Walsh, Doc, Dow, Akers, Chera, and because of Ian, the sub is Bins, which I am glad. People upset. Rio upset because Mackay's in. Who saved Mackay? It was a joint effort.
We did.
Ian.
Rio sent a lot of messages about Mackay.
We are a fair organisation here. We are modern Carlton. We are a democracy. So we will stand by that. But your team should be coming on screen any time now. StreamYard is having maintenance in the background. I've just got a message.
Here we go.
Oh, there it is. Beautiful.
And the caveat is that McGovern will be in if Chera isn't.
So there it is. That's quite
a strong bench. It's a very strong bench.
Tell you what, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, I'm hoping Dow plays, but you know what scares me? I can just see Carlton doing the old classic.
Sub him off.
No, doing the old classic of bringing him in and then next week dropping him after a 20-touch game and going, we tried.
Wasn't up to the standard. Yeah, 100%.
Well, chat, we will be back next week. Go Blues. Enjoy yourselves. Look after yourselves. Cheer hard on Friday. We'll be back next week to pick up the pieces. But from Ian and Lekdog, thank you for joining us. Much love. We'll see you next week.
Anytime. Go Baggers.